everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you the novice way to make curtains for whatever you're doing, but I'm making them for my schoolie conversion. I am not that great at sewing. This is honestly one of my first projects that I've done by myself. My mom showed me some tricks on how to do it, but I will be showing you my mistakes as well as how to fix several mistakes that normal people that actually know how to sew can do. Before we get into it, if you want to go ahead and like and subscribe down below, that really helps us and helps us on our journey as we try and travel around, live in our schoolie. So go ahead and give us a like and keep watching. Thanks. So the first thing that you need is to measure out all your windows, figure out how many panels you need, how big you need them. Our bus is kind of weird because some windows, we have our countertop going up over the window, so we don't need a curtain going all the way, whereas like by our couch, we have that lower, and so we need the curtain all the way. So we have a lot of different sizes. So we measured the width, that is, I guess, and the height, and then figured out how much extra we need. So we have 3 inches at the top that we're wasting, and then 1 inch at the bottom. So whatever your height of your window is, we added 4 inches to that. And then for your length, you don't want it like super tight, your curtain. It would look like you hung a sheet up. So we did 1.5 times the actual length. So say your window was like 20 inches long, you want to make your fabric 30 so that you have a little bit of that bubble to make it look more like a curtain. So then once we had, see our little cheat sheet here, it's really messy, but it works. So we labeled out each one of what each curtain is, like oven wall, back wall, bed windows, fridge window, and couch. And so we have that. We have the measurements for what it needs to be finished and what we need to cut for the actual thing before we sew it to make it that finished one. So once you have all your measurements, you can add that all up and see how much fabric you actually need to buy. I had 6 yards of 108-inch fabric that I got from the fabric store. And then we did these little tags on here. So I labeled each one of the spots like with a number. So this one is the fridge windows panels. And then it's 26 inches top to bottom, length, height, whatever that is, height. And then I need 239 panels out of this. So the whole thing is 108 inches because that's how wide our fabric was. And then 239s out of that. I'm adding a little bit more just because my fabric isn't quite what I wanted. It's a little bit stiff, so I want it more flowy. So I'll probably do more like 50 inches for the length, so it has more room to kind of bubble and not bubble, but fold up, so it's a little bit more flowy. Alright, so now I'm going to measure out my fabric. This one is 2 34-inch pieces, but I want them a little bit more, give a little more give to the curtain, so I'm going to do 50 and 50 because my overall piece, this fabric, is 108 inches long. So I have extra anyways, so I'm just going to do 50 and 50, so I have 8 extra inches at the end. So what I do, this board is 36 inches, so I'll just go 35 and then 15 after that. Should probably move the candle, but it's pumpkin spice and I love it, so it's going all day. Just want to make sure it's lined up really well, because if you start with a wonky piece of fabric, your curtains are going to end up a little crazy, which is up to you if you want that. Personally, I care about some things, and that's one of the things I care about. So make sure it's lined up all the way along the bottom here. Your starting good cut, and then you go into your rotary cutter. Make sure you're actually where you need to be. It's a good tip. so make sure you don't have anything underneath it. Because I just cut my instruction sheet. Okay, but then if you have a little bit more like I do, I'm just gonna go back with scissors and try and cut it as straight as I can. It's probably not the way to go, but it works and it's gonna be okay. So I just have it lined up on the lines. On this particular piece of fabric, I have 3 unfinished edges where I just cut, and then this one is like finished. I don't know what piece of that is, I can't think of it, but it's finished. So when I'm not gonna serge it, but then when I go back and sew over the edges, I'll just fold this whole thing over. It's gonna be a little bit different than the serge finished edges, but it's okay. I don't think you'll be able to tell. So for the serger, it's super simple. You just put it in there, and then I make sure that I have the same amount on this side. I'm not cutting off any of the edge because I just cut it, but I'm just doing these stitches so that it doesn't fray. So I just want to keep it along the same spot so it's not cutting it, but yet it's having enough room to do the whole end stitch. Serger's really nice because you can just go off the edge. You don't have to backstitch or anything. So this is the finished edge that I was talking about. So this, when you are finishing it, you'll just fold this over and then just sew along that line, and it's done. So I'm gonna go back and do all the other sides now, besides that one that was already finished. I'm not sewing the top or bottom, just the sides. And I'm going to sew the sides. Make sure this is behind you again. I don't like that on there, so I'm going to cut it. So I'm just folding this over. Like I am, and you do the same thing that I did, and you start sewing before you actually have your fabric in there all the way, and the needle doesn't touch the fabric on the first try, that's a problem, and your bobbin gets ruined. So I'll show you how to put it back and fix it. So you want to make sure the thread is on the left side, and then there's a little notch right there. You just want to put it through there and make sure that's going that way. And then you want to get this off that little notch and hold it with your hand, and then turn the hand stitch towards you, and then you will see it. See that thread starting to go through there, and grab that bobbin. And once it's grabbed, you're gonna come through with your scissors or whatever you have, and just pull that all the way through and pull it towards the back, and you're done. Good job, you fixed your mistake. You don't have to go looking up a YouTube video like I did or asking somebody that knows actually how to sew. So now what I'm going to do is measure out 1 inch, fold it over 1 inch, and then iron it so it stays, and then do the same thing on this side, but 3 inches, and then iron it over so it stays. So with folding this 1 inch and 3 inch at the top, one thing you want to do is make sure that you have where you folded over the serge edge to finish it is where you fold over on here too, so that it's all on the back and you don't have like this in the front versus the fold in the front. You just want to make sure you're folding it back the same way on all of the sides. So as you can see, I'm kind of measuring as I go so that it's 1 inch all the way along there. And a helpful tip is you want to go upwards with your iron. You don't want to go side to side at first. You can after you do the first up, but if you go side to side, then your end is going to go beyond where you want it to, and you're going to have to kind of adjust that as you're sewing. So it's just easier if you go up first, and then you can go side to side to get it more pressed. So now I'm flipping over and doing the top 3 inches for where the curtain rod is gonna go. You can sew that before you do this part, but I just think it's easier to just sew it all at once. So once I'm sewing, I don't have to come back and forth. Okay, so now that I have the top and the bottom ironed, I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. So on my sewing machine, I don't know if you can see that, but there's 2 pieces of tape. This one is for this project. So I'm gonna make sure that this line stays along the end line of this piece of tape so that all the way along the top, the stitch marks are in the same spot so that it doesn't look all wonky when you have your curtain hanging up. So first I'm gonna make sure that these strings are behind here because otherwise your bobbin gets all messed up and stuck in there, so don't do that. I did that a ton. And then you just put your foot down. And make sure you start sewing on the fabric. That's also probably an obvious tip, but one that I did not learn until yesterday because that's how I kept breaking my sewing machine apparently. So then you go forwards a couple stitches and then hit the back button, do a back stitch so it doesn't come out, and then you're good to go. So when you're at the end, you want to do another back stitch just to make sure it doesn't come loose. Got it, pull the strings back, and you're all set with that. So now I'm going to do the bottom. pretty self-explanatory. So once you have all 4 of your edges done, I just want to go back with scissors and just cut the remaining strings off the edges so they look nice. As you can see, I have that finished edge right there, and then the 3-inch fold over right there. It's not quite lined up perfect because I'm a novice, but I don't really care. It's cool. All right, so now that you have all that done, look how nice that looks. You are done. So thanks for watching. Check back again soon for new videos. I think I'm gonna do either wallpaper next or building like little shelves on there. So stay tuned.